Welcome to the Dad Hammer Podcast, a casual Warhammer show where we discuss all things 40k, Age of Sigmar, and literally everything else Warhammer related. So whether you are a beginner or a seasoned veteran, we are so glad that you've joined us on your Warhammer journey. I am your host, David the Warboss, and I am joined by my buddies, the Chaplain.
Hello.
Hello. And
Hello.
Overlord Will. Once again, he's back from, I don't want to say back from the grave. That sounds weird, but it's like, you're a Necron guy, so you're kind of back from, you've been reanimated. Let's say that.
Protocols activated.
Yeah, that's on brand. So welcome back. Glad you are here, sir. And
Glad to be back.
boy, we have had quite the week of news. We are hot off the heels of quite a few announcements, very exciting times, and we're going to get into some of that. So we've got a great show for you. First of all, thank you so much for listening. And if you wouldn't mind, actually, even if you do mind, it would be very cool if you would leave us a review. Apple Podcasts is a great place to do that. Give us a 5-star review. That would be great. And then we can read that on the show. So if you also have any suggestions for topics or things that you want us to discuss, you can leave us a comment on our YouTube channel when this video goes up, or you can send us an email at contact@dadhammerstudios.com. So a couple of outlets for you there to get in touch with us. So we'd love to hear from you. Well, with that, let's get into this week's show. Have some really cool stuff. A lot of 40k this time. We've been heavy on the Age of Sigmar, and this week we have got lots of 40k. We're going to talk about the latest preview show, which showed off the new kill team reveals of Hivestorm. So we've got some new models, new terrain I'm very excited about, and we'll get into some of the details with that. We've also played several games of Age of Sigmar Spearhead, which is, a breath of fresh air. We're going to talk about our experiences with those games. We have upcoming predictions for the Nova preview show. So they're just doing tons of preview shows, and it's amazing. So we're going to give you our predictions for what they may reveal at the upcoming Nova preview show. And then finally, there has been a new trailer dropped for an animation, or I guess a collection of animations on Amazon Prime, featuring from among many different types of media, but featuring the Warhammer 40,000 universe in a new animation with Amazon Prime. Very cool. We're going to talk about all of that and give our impressions of the very brief teaser trailer and what we're hoping to see. All right. So before we get into all of that, let's get into the pile of potential. Let's get an update from the panel on where we are on the pile of potential. Have we made progress? Are we way behind? Are we just looking at our pile of potential with loving eyes and just telling ourselves one day? Or have we painted 17 armies like the Chaplain? Will, since you are back from being reanimated, we'll start with you. Where are you with your pile of potential? Have you made progress?
I have. The last couple of days I've been working on some Space Marines. I ended up completely stripping my Imperial Fists. I got tired of dealing with the color yellow, so we've been repainting those all this week. I've got a 1,000-point team tournament my buddy and I are going to play in it at the Games Workshop store this weekend, so hoping to get all those finished before the end of the week.
Wow. Well, I can't join the team strip all the paint off the models. Man, it just hurts my soul every time I hear that. And Lee, I know you do it all the time. Will, what's the deal? Do you just say, oh man, I've spent hundreds of hours on these models. It's time to start all over again. It's kind of like moving houses. Right? Is that some people just love to move,
Have you ever painted a whole army yellow?
It's horrible.
Fair. I've painted a whole army green in orcs, but
green's got better coverage. Yellow's a voodoo. You gotta mix that just right.
It's insane. I just got tired of dealing with it and figured it'd probably end up looking better and more for my mental health than anything.
Well, what about white? Lee, didn't you do that for your Tau? Or no, you went blue, didn't you?
Yeah, like a blue green mix. But I'm painting like yellow on feathers for the Seraphon, and even just painting a little bit of white, the coverage is terrible. So
Okay.
I can't imagine doing a whole Imperial Fists army just to be like, I mean, I don't know. Each one of those models has got to have like 20 layers of paint on it. It probably looks like a blob, like just like that when it comes out.
It
There
was
was
pretty
detail
bad.
there to get an opacity on it, man. Yeah, so give them a bath in alcohol
So
and
you did the whole army, and now you're getting rid of all of it? Is
Yeah,
that
I ended up stripping the entire one. I'm just doing a custom chapter this time, so I can go. They're more silver. They've got some brass. They've got some black in there. We'll figure out some other detail colors later.
yikes? Okay. Well, good luck. I wish you the best, and but I bet you the all yellow, the Imperial Fist. I bet it would look pretty good. So even the dog in the background thinks that you shouldn't have stripped all the models off stripped all the paint off the models. I'm just saying, if the dog agrees. Well, cool. Lee, what about you? Any progress on the pile of potential?
yeah, so I've been chipping away at the Seraphon army bit by bit. Raptidons, again, 5 Raptidons nearly done. Then I had an old one or old saw I don't know, something old on a small dinosaur, but was working on that last night. So yeah, been chipping away, but to be honest, like I'm trying to get them done, but I'm at the point where it's like if I see another scale in my journey on Warhammer, I'll be like, oh, I just I've been chipping away bit by bit, but I can't paint any more
Tired of it?
scales. Yeah, so it's kind of I'm hitting that fatigue. So it's kind of like that marathon. You turn the corner and you've got 2 miles to go. That's kind of where it's at. So it's just like just get myself across the finishing line. But the problem is to quote an old 40K secondary, a tempting target. Um, so like I go down to where my pile of potential is. I was about to say my pile of shame, but my pile of
No,
potential is.
there's probably
Um,
potential.
and the gloom spites are there, just looking at me like, "Hey," and I'm like, "No, no, no!" Like keep walking on, you know. But yeah, but then I've got people like Medicaid Steve, who's like, "Do you need any like 3D printed mushrooms for those?" And I'm like, "Yes, give me all the mushrooms you got." Which sounds really weird saying it on a podcast. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I've had
maybe you're cooking. Maybe they're portobello mushrooms.
maybe, yeah.
Those are tasty. Yeah.
Yeah, I also bought some. So I got some from Epic Basing. So I think I said to you, David, I was like, "Hey, I ordered some mushrooms," and he's like, "Huh? What?" Resin ones.
Ah,
So,
okay.
but yeah, so I'm just trying to get those done. Get through basically the backlog that I have of primed minis, and then it's moving forward with unbox one, build one, paint one, and that's the dream. That's the plan. So
Yeah.
pile of
Well,
potential. Oh, I did.
your Seraphon look really good, by the way.
Thank you.
The blue and the highlights, they pop quite well.
That's it. I did finish one project though, and that was the spearhead terrain. So that was good. Because obviously, we had a friend of the show. We had a party for him because he's getting married. We decided to hang out a bit. So I painted up the landscape, the spearhead landscape in a week. So that was kind of a speed paint, but it was fun and it looked good. And it was nice being the only one that actually had painted the spearhead thing. And I was just like, why are we using grey shame when I can use this and put it down? So,
It
yeah,
did look good. It looked good.
thank you. I
Yeah.
tried.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's where it's at.
I mean, I liked I thought the terrain looked good. I know you were
Mm.
like, for a lot of people, they love to paint models, but they never want to paint terrain. And I've heard that it's more intimidating to paint terrain for some people because I don't know why. I guess because it's usually larger and they don't want to put as much time into painting individual pieces of terrain like they do their space marines or what have you. So they maybe there's some hesitancy because you're worried that your paint job isn't going to be as good, or you're not sure what to do, or maybe it's just because when you paint a large model, you're more kind of analysis paralysis, looking at what color scheme should you use because it's going to be so much bigger than everything else. So I mean, I don't know. I heard that before, and I paint a lot of terrain. I've done a lot, and I would just say that nobody really looks at your terrain. I'll say that. As much as it looks cool maybe for the first time. So the most people that look at terrain will say, "Wow, that's really cool from a distance." But when you get close, not many people care to get up and really look at the details unless there is, I would say, maybe the top, because everybody sees the top. So if you've got the top floor and you don't paint something, or maybe there's a bit of white showing through, everyone's going to see that. So I would, just as a pro tip, don't really worry about all the interior stuff, especially if there's a roof over some of the buildings. Just try to get the top part and maybe the upper 30%. Get some good highlights on that. Everything else, no one's ever going to see. So
It was on
there's my tip.
on the talking about that, on the top of the spearhead terrain, when you put it together, there's a seam line in the corners. So I kept looking at that going, oh, how do I get rid of that? So I just put some flock on that, and
Mhm.
then made sure it came off the edge. And that seemed to give it a pop as well. So it
Yeah.
really looked like ruins where the grass had grown like up over the top and stuff. So there's
Mhm.
another thing to hide the seam lines on that. Just put a bit of grass down.
Yeah. It looked great.
Uh,
Well, very cool. My pilot potential, not as much, but I did get, I finished a third model out of the Stormcast Spearhead box, and that was the Knight Vexillor, which is the flag waving person. I really liked painting the flag. I think it's cool. There's a lot of color on it, a lot of highlight opportunities, and it's one of those things where it stands out. Now, I think he went down pretty easily. That's the other thing is when we'll get into some of our spearhead thoughts here in a second, but you spend all this time painting these models and then find out that they're not so great when you put them on the tabletop. But I enjoyed painting the Knight Vixeler. I've got the chariot and the Andrasta, the Celestial Spear. There we go. Remember the full name. So got all of that painted up. Looked pretty good. And now I've just got to finish the rest of the models in the box. But I was able to proxy when we played. So, but that's on my pilot potential continues, and it's still the Spearhead box. I make very little progress, but there is progress. It's just not a lot. We'll get there eventually, hopefully. All right. Well, there's our updates on the pilot potential. Let's get into some news. And the first thing I wanted to cover is the Age of Sigmar Spearhead very quickly. I know we've talked a lot about Sigmar over the past few weeks. We've got a ton of 40K stuff to get to. So just wanted to get initial impressions now that we've played a few games. I know I've played, I think now about 4 or 5 Spearhead games. Will, I'm going to go to you. I know you played a few Spearhead games as well. Just give your initial impressions of it. Compare it to 40K. Combat Patrol is going to be the natural comparison that I think a lot of people jump straight to. But what were your impressions on the first few games that you played?
I've really enjoyed it. It seems like everything that they learned from Combat Patrol, they implemented pretty well into this one. Having the terrain, having the cards, it's just been a lot of fun. All the games I've played have been pretty close. Nobody's like ran away with anything. And
Mm-hmm.
they seem to have done a really good job with the balance so far on anything that I've played. So I'm really enjoying Spearhead so far.
Yeah, I loved the cards are, I think they add an element of randomness to it, and some folks are going to say that that's maybe a negative for the game, but I find that, and Lee, I know you just a noob to Age of Sigmar, but we're all brand new to this Spearhead, this version of Age of Sigmar. I just thought that having the twist deck, every single round you draw a new card, and every single time you're drawing those battle tactic cards with you don't have to worry about stratagems really. You've got these command cards where if you want to sacrifice victory points for a command that might be able to help you out in the middle of the battle. I just thought that the ability to have a bit of randomness to it, and I never felt like I was completely out of the game. So Lee, what were your initial impressions, especially with playing a brand new game effectively?
Yeah, I think when I first started and saw everything laid out, there was a sense of like, uh-oh, like what have I got myself into? Especially when you played so much 40K, and that's always a lot of things to remember. But actually what I found was that as I was playing it, the more I got to know it, the more I actually thought it was a simpler game to play. Even down to when you wound, the wound score, like the hit score, okay, and then it was like roll a 3 up to wound, and then the rend obviously is like the equivalent to like an AP, but that was really easy as well, like basically hit and then wound, and the wound roll was there. Like I didn't have to do any math, like is it greater than, equal to, or more than? And so what made it really simple, and I thought that made the game flow really quick. And then just the cards themselves forced you to move your models to play the game. Whereas sometimes in 40K, there's a bit of a paralysis that can happen. Like, oh, okay, do I go for it or not? Whereas this, like, you have to go for it. So it keeps the game evolving. And what I found was when I looked at the games that I played, so I played against the Bone.
Bone Reapers.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Or they had some other
OCR Bone Reapers. Yeah.
That's it. OCR Bone Reapers. And when I was playing it, I kept on thinking to myself, these are overpowered. These are overpowered. Like I'm going to lose. I'm going to get tabled. And I ended up winning. That was my first game. I won that game by 1 point because of the cards. The cards basically ended up in my favor. And I was able to score 3 points, which put me, that one over. And I was like, man, this is fun. Like I don't usually win. And the person I was playing, against, friend of the show, has been on the show, Lawson. Like he knows his stuff and he knows how to play. So like I was like, oh, look at me, like that. And then I got beat the next game. But you know, but it was fun. And that's what I would say to anyone. Hey, go play it. Go play it, because it really is a fun game, and it's really simple. It's not overly complicated. And it may feel like the armies aren't balanced, but they are. Like they are balanced really well. So yeah. Anyway, that was a lot. There's a lot of thoughts.
No, I like having as someone who really enjoys the tactical element of Warhammer, whether it's 40K or Sigmar. One of the things I liked about Spearhead is that yeah, you do have some of the random stuff where the tactical side of me never wants to see some kind of crazy curveball that I don't have control over that maybe put the odds in my opponent's favor. But at the same time, it keeps it fresh, and it allows me to stretch some of those tactical muscles, right? Where maybe I had everything positioned just like I want. I'm going to capture these victory points, and then you draw a card, and it doesn't completely destroy your tactical advantage that maybe you've outplayed or outmaneuvered your opponent, but it does just make you think, oh, now, and to your point, Lee, you do have to go for the objective because now the card says you get extra points. It's not that you're penalized for capturing objectives that you already have and playing the game as you normally would, but you are definitely incentivized with those cards to say, all right, now that you got that objective, great, you're going to get points, but if you go for this one, you get more victory points. And this is nothing new to 40K. There's tons of missions like that, but I think what Sigmar has for it is the ability to jump into a game. And yes, there's some nuance and differences between that and 40K, but they add the random element, the cards, and I love the fact that there are a limited amount of cards in front of you, so that we don't have to reference the rule book as much because the
Mhm.
cards tell you what to do. So I think that games like Warcry and even Kill Team, which we'll talk about here in a minute, do have an advantage over the larger games because they rely heavily on just whatever's in front of you, whether it's these small cards that are randomized, or they'll have the data sheets, war scrolls rather, that have all the information, and they've streamlined it so that you rolled a wound and rolled a hit, and you can just do all your rolls right there. And in theory, you could roll them together, just like with D&D. You can do like speed rolling, where you're rolling the damage and to hit. So in theory, you could do that. It might be a little weird. I guess you'd have to have multicolored dice, but um, I like the little things that they're doing with Spearhead Sigmar to make it, again, we said this before, secretly the better game. And 40K has the better lore, but Sigmar is the better game. So well, anyway, I really enjoyed myself. Will definitely be playing more. And I think now we're at a point where, okay, Spearhead or Combat Patrol, if we've only got a limited amount of time. So I'm going to throw it back to Will. I'll ask the question: if you have to choose and you've only got a couple of hours and you've got armies on both sides, are you going to play Spearhead or Combat Patrol?
I think Spearhead wins almost every single time on that one. If I've got a
Wow.
couple hours, like if you've got people who know what they're doing and have played it a bunch of times, you can probably get 2, maybe even 3 games out of that if you know what you're doing. I really enjoyed it so far, so it's definitely got my vote.
Okay. Lee, what about you?
Right now, if after this weekend, I'd have to say Spearhead.
Okay. Well, and it may be recency bias. I mean, we're
Mhm.
we're still, thinking about Spearhead and how much fun it was. And there's times when I do want to just do a bunch of shooting. That's cool being able to do that in 40K. But I I kind of agree. I do like 40K in where I can do more of the terrain. And again, going back to the tactical side, there's more of that in 40K than there is Spearhead. So each game has its merits, but I mean, I kind of agree. It is nice just to be able to mentally not to know that I'm not going to have to be mentally taxed going into a Spearhead game, which is
Mm.
cool. Doesn't mean you have to be just check out, but it is nice to have.
Do you think then? Do you think that like Combat Patrol doesn't feel balanced at times? So when I played you, you had your Votan, and I had my Space Marine army with the Terminators. It didn't
Hmm.
feel balanced. As soon as I'd wiped out some of your big, the big parts of your Combat Patrol, it felt like it was game over for you.
Yep.
Whereas with the Spearhead, it never felt like game over. Even as we got down to like the last couple of models on the board, it still felt like there was a chance. Um, do you feel that the game balance in Spearhead is better than Combat Patrol, and that's why Combat Patrol can stutter sometimes?
I think so. I think it is just the inherent nature of 40K. I don't think it's just Combat Patrol per se. I think the rules for Combat Patrol are good. They're very simple, and it's a great game. I think where it struggles is just how they have, and I don't know necessarily how to fix it, but how they have designed the units to be. Um, your army typically revolves around 2 or 3 core units, and if you lose those, you're done. I mean, I played against Lawson's Thousand Sons Combat Patrol, and if you take out the Terminators, that's game over. Like, you win. So I mean, and with Votan, if you take out the bikes, for example, in with the Pioneers, the Harnkin Pioneers, I think. Yeah, I think that's right. You take those guys out, that's it. I mean, you're lucky if you can come away with a victory. Whereas with Spearhead, I lost the Chariot, I lost the Vexillor, I even lost Andrasta, up front in a couple of games. And I felt like I was going to, well, I'm used to 40K. I felt like it was game over. when in reality, I mean, no, I came back. I was still hanging on. So
Mm.
I just think that I don't know if Sigmar is more balanced and that's why it feels better, or if 40K is just inherently broken. And maybe both. I don't know, but it's an interesting proposition, I think, and something that Games Workshop's going to have to look into if they want to keep fans on both sides. I think the Sigmar, the bigger issue for them to get folks to play Sigmar is just to get people out of the 40K universe. Can you pull somebody away that's gotten 5 armies in the 40K world to play Sigmar? And hey, why don't you pick up another spearhead? And that's like, oh man, more, and it's expensive. So anyway, more conversation for another day. And I know we got into more of a philosophical discussion about these games, but I really enjoyed my time with Spearhead, and sounds like both of you did as well. So I would encourage our listeners, definitely give it a try. And even if you have to proxy like I did, it's a good time. So, all right, let's move now to some announcements. They had a Warhammer preview that we were excited about. I think we were anticipating, nothing amazing. I was ready. I was setting myself up for some disappointment, I guess. I wasn't expecting anything crazy, but they revealed the kill team, and I'm gonna throw it up on the screen here. Hive Storm, and I'll make this a little more full screen so you can see it if you're watching on YouTube. But this is the new Kill Team box set and a new Kill Team version. So all in here, most of the focus was on, and I don't even remember what the name of these guys are. We'll get into it in a second. The guys with the wings. Will, you're the best one to be able to tell us what are the guys with the orange guys with the wings? What are they called?
The Vespid Sting
The
Wings.
Vespids. There it is. Okay, thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue, as you could tell. But cool announcement. I thought the trailer was really neat. Will, what were your thoughts just in general on the announcement and the preview itself?
So I think the trailer it was really, really good. Warhammer's animations have definitely taken a step up. So it's really nice to see that one. I've never played Kill Team before, so I have no idea about like any of the action points, anything like that. But those Vespid models, they're a win in my book. The old ones were absolutely hideous. So to see these and see really good models, I'm super pleased with it.
Yeah, I mean, Kill Team. I know. I don't think Lee, you've played Kill Team. I may be the only one that's actually played Kill Team, but I enjoy Kill Team. It's a good game. It's got a lot of tokens and little things to put by your models, and it's more of a zoomed in version of 40K. It's the only, I would say, the thing what I would say to anyone looking into Kill Team, it's a completely different game. It doesn't translate well like Combat Patrol does with a larger game of 40K. If you play Combat Patrol, you've played kind of the light version of 40K. If you play Kill Team, you played nothing like the Combat Patrol or 40K. There's very little that translates over because you have completely new stats. So that'd be the only downside. However, it's a great game. So it's really awesome if you just want to play a skirmish game. It still takes about an hour, but it has a lot of tokens and things that you have to use, but still a fun game. Let's go through some of the models that they showed here. And Lee, I'll start off with you. What were your thoughts on these new models? I thought that these were a little safe. These are the Tempestus Scions from, I would assume, the Astra Militarum variety. Is that spot on or no?
I think they're called Tempestus Aquilors.
Okay. Oh my gosh, who comes up with these names? Like how? Dumb people like me are always going to struggle with these names. I can barely remember, like Indrasta. The fact that I got that right, I was just like, I don't know, the lady with the wings, the angel lady. That's who I'm going to attack with. And I'm sure someone that's listening to this is just like, oh my gosh, why can't you get the names right? I don't know either. I just can't. Lee, what were your thoughts on these models?
I mean, again, they're great looking models. I think the Vespids, they look good. I like they almost have a grimy feel to them. Like they're in there in the midst of like a oil rig, like battling against different things. I think the marksman, I'm a bit disappointed he's not missing his arm, like in the in the trailer. I was like, oh, whoa, look at that.
Yeah, one-armed marksman.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, that was great. That was great in the trailer. Really like that.
But I think they're cool. I think the obviously they're a different design on the jump packs than we used to, with these kind of curved over kind of thrusters. I think that one there, the
Precursor.
precursor,
Yeah.
with the shotgun and then the knife feels like a cool model as well. So I think they're great. I've never. That is cool.
That's the
That was
best
cool.
one.
The
Yeah.
servo sentry.
Yeah, when that
Yeah.
came like crawling out, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." So yeah, I thought they were great models, and it looks like you've got a couple of options there where you've got a flamer, you've got like what potentially is a grenade launcher, and then and I think that's what's cool about Kill Team is the loadouts that you can build up. However, I'm not sure how, for example, like you can run, if I remember right, you can run the crew Fast Stalker Kinband, which is a kill team. You can run that in a Tau army, but I'm not sure if all the weapon options transfer. I don't know if they're just called crew weapons or crew, guns. So whereas Kill Team gives you those more options, so as those Vespids transfer over, I'm looking at those Vespids for my Tau army, but is it going to just say Vespid guns as opposed to all of the different elements that they have? Because the sculptors talked about the Vespids having like crystal guns that fire crystals, kind of like Halo. And then there is a grenade that lets off a radioactive like smoke plume. And I was like, oh man, but I don't remember seeing those in the 40K in the codex, because sometimes there's crossover between these two. Well, I don't know if you picked up on that at all.
Well, I think they did something kind of similar with the Votan. I think it was the Jaegers, I believe.
Yep.
They imported them into 40K, and they pretty much, like, if you look on the back of the data card, it's got like 9 different weapons or something like that on there that you can have. So I think that if they did bring Vespids over to 40K, or like when showed the refresh data card, probably something similar.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got usually with Kill Team, it's got a default loadout, and then you can pick different weapons and guns depending on. And that's one of the nice things is that because you have so few models, and you're really going in as a specialist squad. That's so if you just like in the trailer where they're descending out of the ceiling, coming down into the battle, the fray. I thought that was a really good depiction of what Kill Team is that you've got a squad of like 4 or 5 models, maybe 10, depending on if you play orcs, you've got more, but you're going to have a very elite group, and each one of them is there for a reason. So if you played like a game like Dark Tide, where every person gets to pick what their specialty is, okay, you're the medic, or you're the melee tank kind of character. So they have that kind of feel with Kill Team. And so whenever you lose one of those members, it hurts really bad. But because they're so independent, typically each unit or each model in your squad is able to pick up and kind of run with things. And the missions are really varied. They get a lot more variety than say 40K or Combat Patrol. I would say it's closer to the variety that you get in Sigmar, which is cool. I mean, you get to do a lot of things like push people off of ledges, and there's damage if they fall off, and being able to do crazy abilities and things that you wouldn't normally get to do with 40K. So it is a fun game. There's nothing wrong with Kill Team at all. I just, again, when we're getting together now, we've got yet another reason. So we got Spearhead, Combat Patrol, full game of Sigmar, full game of 40K. You got Kill Team. I mean, there's just tons of stuff. And I'm going to throw up the Vespids now. The guys that I could remember their names, I'm sure they're offended, but we've got these insect bug creatures. I mean, it's doubling down on the Kroot look and feel, and less about the robots. But I feel like they did a really good job of combining. It looks like the some kind of weird offspring of the Kroot that had wings, and they came in and they found some Tau weapons, and now they're just flying around annoying people. Like that's kind of the feel that I get. So Lee, I'm going to go to you. I mean, I'm assuming that you're all in on these guys.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I like them. They look a little bit chunkier than the original sculpts. And they're all dynamic poses as well. If you notice that some of them have the Tau helmets on and some of them don't. I think if I
Mhm.
read right, the helmets that they have, those are like the communicators. So basically, like the Vespids couldn't and the Tau couldn't communicate. And then, sorry, the Vespids and yeah, they just couldn't communicate. So then the Tau created this helmet that they wear that basically translates the vibrations of the wings, the pheromones they give off, and the mind connection, so that actually they can talk and communicate. So that's why your head guys, your top guys have the helmets on, and then the kind of the warriors don't, because the idea is that head person is the funnel for the information to all the other
Okay.
team. So, and then that's what obviously you've got a drone in there as well, which I don't know if that just beefs up the Wi-Fi signal, but you know, I think that's it. But I think they're great. Again, a great use of tactical rocks. That they're
Tactical beams this
tactical
time.
beams, tactical rocks.
Yeah.
But I like them. I could see these being having them in a Tau army and having these get out and claim objectives really early on, to give you kind of that jump on the team as well, if you're bringing them
Mhm.
into 40K. But
Mhm.
I'll say this: I don't know if you've noticed this, but and maybe this is a topic for another day. But how many flying things are we having recently? Jump pack marines, Tau, these drop guys. And then is there any other flyers that we've had come in? It feels like a lot of the sculpts are around jumping and flying,
Flying.
and whereas I don't think we've seen that as much before. Maybe in other versions it was tanks and it was guns, and now it seems like, can they fly? Can they jump? Can they drop? Can they deep strike? That feels like where we're kind of going right now with mechanics of games.
Yeah, I agree. And the Blood Angels, coming soon, right? They've got new models that are jump backs. They've got ones with the wings, and I mean, yeah, it is a lot of flying models. I wonder though that if they're just looking to add some more mobility to
Mm.
the existing armies that are typically just on the ground, right? So they've got newer armies coming in that have the ability to fly, or they've got some extra vehicles or something, and then the traditional Space Marine armies and some of these others are wanting to have more mobility, so they're just adding on to what already exists, and that's why we're getting more flying models. Or they're just wanting to make sure every single army has the ability to do that, and it's not just one. That I think it's an interesting point that you bring up, though, because I I worry that if everybody has ability to fly, then you kind of lose some of that spice and uniqueness when you pick a certain army. Like, ooh, my army can fly, or again, you look at individual armies like the Necrons, for example, or the Necrons with the reanimation. Oh man, I wish my orc boys could reanimate. They can't, but they're going to come in with large numbers and do great on melee. And then the Space Marines, depending on what kind of Space Marines you have. Oh man, I wish my guys were a little more versatile and could do better in melee. And so I think every army is going to have its appeal. So that would be my only concern, is that they're just you get a jump pack and you get a jump pack, and everyone now has the ability to do the same thing. So yeah, I still think they're cool. Going back to the Kill Team announcements for the Hivestorm release, let's get into the best part of the entire announcement. I'm slightly biased, but I thought the terrain was really cool. I'll put it up full screen here. We've got a map full of ruined buildings, very similar to the I guess the ruins that they released back in ninth and even in eighth edition with the L-shaped walls, and then they threw in some of the buildings with a single and even two floors. Really was hoping for higher buildings with more than just the single floor, and we got one. But I mean, they have some ladders in here, and I really liked the terrain. So, Will, I'll throw it over to you first. What were your thoughts on the terrain? Are you a terrain guy? Is this cool? Is this kind of meh? Is it more of the same? Where do you land on the terrain?
So if I could get like 2 or 3 of these, I would get the whole thing and just be set. All those little bits that they have on there, like the barbed wire and the little shields, like
Yeah,
those are just fantastic.
yeah.
Pretty much everything on this terrain, I'm a fan of.
I liked the was it like the smoke bomb, smoke grenade. I thought that was really cool. I like that's a unique take on some scatter terrain. I liked the barbed wire. I liked the walls, and they put ladders in there. So a lot of cool stuff. I would assume that you can't put your models on those ladders. That I would assume that they're not interactive, but um, I too I was really impressed with the scatter terrain. I thought it was very unique and different than what we're used to seeing, and that's something with Kill Team that is different than most. Is that you're going to have more interaction with these little bitty barriers? Because when I saw the barriers originally back in the previous versions of Kill Team, I never really paid them much mind because like, well, it's just a barrier. Why is this going to matter? And then you get into the game and you find out, oh man, there's some real tactical advantages to getting behind this little bitty barrier, and getting around it is a bigger deal than it used to be. So Lee, I'll throw it back over to you for the terrain or any of the scatter stuff here. Any interest in this, or is it just one more thing and you'd rather have the models?
Yeah, I think right now I'd rather have the models. I think again it's one more thing. It's more things. I do like the little smoke grenade,
Hmm.
terrain pieces. They look cool. But yeah, it's not something that I'm going to go out and buy. I think you're paying for the whole kind of Kill Team set, and I don't want to jump into Kill Team. So
Yeah.
if some
Yeah.
of these translated as maybe individual buys, maybe, but I think some of this you can also make yourself. So nothing there that I would want, but I definitely would like the best bids when they come out in a single box.
Yeah, I mean the terrain pieces in Kill Team in the past, they have released it as part of like an individual kit where you could buy just the what they call the kill zone. So it didn't come with all of the models, the miniatures. It would come with the terrain pieces, and I've done that a couple of times. There was the Chalneth, the red cathedral looking building. I mean, I had that, and that's a great terrain piece for 40K. But I've also used it for Kill Team, and it was just as fun. So um, pretty cool there. I wanted to throw up just this final image, and this is the picture of all the tiles and little tokens that you get. And this is a good indication to me of what you're getting into. So this is not necessarily a bad thing for Kill Team, but it's just something to be aware of if you haven't played. Just be ready to throw out a ton of tokens next to your miniatures. So when you're wounded, when you're oh man, it's been a while. If you want to heal your guys, if they've got certain status on the miniatures for the time being, um, there's just all kinds of tokens. And we joke around whenever I'm putting a judgment token from Votan on someone, and you move your models around. I always just say, hey, don't forget your luggage. Take it along with you. Well, in Kill Team, you're going to have a lot of luggage, so I'll just leave that there. But it's still a fun game. I highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for a skirmish game that you can do pretty quickly. So pretty cool. All right, now let's move to the Nova Open. They just talked about this recently. So Nova Open, new tournament, new Warhammer preview, and this time I'm assuming it's going to be 40K. Will, I'll go to you first. What are your predictions? Maybe throw in a curveball, some hopes and dreams on what you're hoping to see at the Nova Open coming up soon.
Well, I think didn't they said that like the roadmap for 40K is coming out with this one, didn't they?
I mean, that's what I've heard. I don't know if that was that official. I didn't get to watch the announcement video. So if they said that, talking about the roadmap as far as 40K codex release, but also I would assume they would show some other stuff too.
Yeah, if that comes out, I'm super excited just because I feel like that should have already came out. But
Mm-hmm.
my guess for it is, I guess Thousand Suns are probably going to come soon with the Space Marine 2. That's my big prediction for it. I
Yeah.
think they said that they're going to do some Age of Sigmar and I think 30K as well, or Horus Heresy. So I can see Stormcast get some of their models revealed, kind of like how they did with Space Marines after Tyranids won that thing. So I'm excited to see. We'll end up seeing what goes on.
Man, I don't need any more cool Stormcast models like for me to desire and potentially purchase and then put it on my pile of potential, and I'll continue talking about it on the show. I mean, I've got my hands full. Still got the Skaven Tide box set. I've got the rest of the Spearhead box of Stormcast. I and I don't I can't get to it all, but I've got to make some progress. I think I agree with you. I think that they show the roadmap. Thousand Suns would be interesting. I think that would be a good tie-in. Based on Space Marine 2. I keep thinking, for me personally, with all the Votan stuff coming out with the White Dwarf all over the magazine with Votan, they came out with a novel with Votan. So I would love to see some announcements of the Leagues of Votan showing off, or Codex or something. Lee, where do you land on the upcoming announcement? Any predictions?
I think the roadmap, I think we need to know where we're going. I think that'll help quell some of the kind of like what's next within the 40K world. I'd love to see some Votan. I think that they are due a bit of a refresh. They need a few more things in there. And then I think it's going to be Stormcast. I think we're going to see those models, because once you do that, then you can start rolling out all the other factions. So I think Stormcast is the kind of the last brick in the dam that just opens up all the Age of Sigmar releases that I'm sure they've got. So I think roadmap, Votan, and then the Stormcast as the announcement.
Okay. Wow. Well, I would love that. I'm gonna lean. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to lean towards what Will is saying, and probably get Thousand Suns. I did see, there's been a leak going around for what the roadmap is, and I don't know if that's photoshopped. I don't know if it's real, but what I saw was Votan coming in the winter, which winter. When does winter technically start? November, I think. So
Sounds about
that's
right.
about 3 months away
Mm.
for when it might release. Of course, that could go into December, January. I'm not in a huge rush to get more models, but if it's Votan, I always make an exception. So I would I would love to see the roadmap to see what's coming out. But that said, I'm getting a little jaded with all of the Codex book releases, and then you feel that you don't have a fully balanced army with 40K because someone else got their codex before you did, versus something like Sigmar, where I never really felt like that, even though Skaven feel pretty powerful right now. So I think there's a lot of that same sentiment, at least, especially when I get on to Reddit. Of course, Reddit is the source of all truth, and there's no drama on there ever. But I feel like that a lot of fans of 40K are just getting tired of the books and the releases with lots of lore and a handful of rules that they update within the first month, and
Mm.
everybody's just wanting it to be digital. So I thought it was just me, but I'm seeing that across the board now. A lot of people are just wanting it rolled into a subscription, or just give the rules away for free like all the other games and let everybody buy more models. So um, I would love to see the roadmap, Votan, Thousand Suns. Now, my question, Lee, I'm going to go back to your prediction where you were thinking that they're going to have more of a truly live show where they're going to get feedback and go back and forth with folks. Do you think that's going to be the case again? Are they going to have the more polished, pre-recorded? Um, I want to call it a live stream when really it's not. It's just a video for people to watch that's on Twitch. I think they're going to go full chat back and forth?
I hope so. I think so. I think that's what, with these smaller releases, it's a smaller, quick kind of like 20-minute show. Whereas this, I think having that feedback, I'd like to see that. It was fun when we all watched and we could all talk and share, back and
Mhm.
forth and have that banter and the excitement. So it'd be nice to see that. But yeah, I don't know. My hope is that is where it would be.
Yeah, agreed. Well, the Nova Open is coming out on the 28th of August. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It'll be on twitch.tv on the Warhammer official Warhammer channel. We will probably do a live stream. We try to do those whenever we can. This one is going to be 8 p.m. Central Time, which is our time zone. But on Wednesday the 28th. So really exciting. Looking forward to some more reveals, and my wallet continues to be very, very sad, but every other part of me is happy, so that's good. All right, let's now move to the very last topic. This was a bit of a surprise, and that is what they're calling the Secret Level Show, which is a Warhammer content. I guess it's an animation that's been added to Amazon Prime Video. I was originally thinking, "Oh man, is this the Henry Cavill project?" No, it is not. This is an animation that highlights a lot of different properties. Well, I know from a video game perspective, you and I are both looking at this and seeing God of War. We're seeing. I'm trying to think of the other things that popped up. But a lot of different properties. I remember seeing God of War. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that they're adding that in. But I mean, what other video games did they add in there? There were several.
I know I think there's like a PlayStation game called Sifu. I saw
Mhm.
Mega Man. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not just a bunch of them. I think they said the thing's going to be like 15 episodes, and each one is going to be a different IP themed for it. So we got a lot of different options to choose from for this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The only downside to me is whenever you get that type of variety on the content, you never really get a full-fledged show. You get something really quick. It's almost like the same type of disappointment that I had with the Warhammer Plus shows when they only have like 2 episodes. I get really excited and I want to explore the world more, and then they only have 2 shows. I'm like, oh man, is that it? I want more than that. So I am a little concerned that these are going to be so tight. They're going to be 30 minutes long, maybe less, maybe more, but I doubt they're going to be some 2 hour long movie. Maybe they will be. I don't know. But I'm just thinking they're going to be like a 30-minute show. Lee, what do you think? Is this going to be a smaller bite sized chunk?
Yeah, I think they're going to be 30, 40-minute kind of shows as they bounce around the different IPs and different things. I mean, I like the little trailer. It was trying to spot like, it's trying to spot your friend in the crowd, like, oh, there they are. Oh, there, you know, you had like a couple of things. I think was that a towel that was in it, or was it
I
like there
thought
was
so.
there was a
It looked
hooded
like
guy,
it.
but I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, but there's so many stuff that looks similar. And then the opening cutscene with the Space Marine standing there covered in like blue neon blood. I was like, does that mean they went crazy on Tau? But obviously it's Titus and his crew. It looked like a Space Marine like lads night out, like they're just about to hit up the club as they were like walking in, like But it looked cool. It looked cool. But I think they're gonna be like 30, 40-minute kind of
Hmm.
animations, one and done. But maybe this is a precursor to what Warhammer can do with Amazon Prime. That's the club shot. It looks like the four of them walking into the club. So
Yeah, I think that my question, I'll go back to Will. on this one too, and Lee, feel free to chime in. But I wonder, are they just going to stick with Ultramarines? I mean, obviously that's what I've got here up on the screen. It's all Ultramarines. Do you think that will they go into a really deep chapter specific narrative, or is this just going to be super high level? Here's the poster boys of all things Warhammer. Get your intro to the Warhammer universe, and they're going for the people that don't know as much about the IP, or do you think they're going to people like us that are more of a hardcore fan? Well, where do you think that they'll go really deep on this, or stay more for the casual crowd?
No, I definitely think they're going to stay more casual. I mean, to most people who aren't like in the hobby, they'll see it like an Ultramarine, be like, "Oh, that's the Space Marine, that's the guy." So if they like went outside of that, you kind of lose that brand recognition with it. That being said, I think this is going to be like a really good introduction to the hobby for a lot of people who may not have ever seen anything Warhammer related.
Yeah, I think that's possible. Lee, do you think this is going to be an intro to Space Marines? This is Space Marine 101.
Yeah, I think this is the wide the wide part of the funnel, and the hope is that it would bring people in and draw people in. Yeah, I think that's where it's at. I don't think you're going to get anything more than Space Marines dropping in and destroying aliens and Xenos, characters. I think that's as much as it's going to be. It's going to be, oh, there's something we've got to go investigate. Uh-oh, here comes aliens. Let's go. Grab the pack and okay, we've got the data.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here. And I think that is as simple as it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to like the Mario movie when that came out. My kids were really excited about the Mario movie, especially my younger son was just, oh man, really excited just to see Mario on the screen. It didn't really matter what he was doing. He just wanted to see Mario, more Mario, and as basic as humanly possible. But I'm also sitting there watching the Mario movie and seeing all of the references to old games. I mean, like the Power Glove, and I mean, even stuff like the throwbacks to the games like Wrecking Crew, and little bitty nods in the movie. There were so many references and cool stuff in that movie, and so I'm looking for that while my son is just seeing Mario. Period. And seeing the Donkey Kong. Oh yeah, I recognize all these characters, and Bowser and the songs, and that's for him. But me, I'm looking in the background to see what pictures are on the wall, while they're having a conversation. So the reason I bring that up is that I wonder if they're going to do the same thing with this Space Marine show, where the casual fan is just going to look at a blue armored guy that kind of reminds you of Master Chief in Halo that's blowing up aliens, and that's all they're going to focus on. And maybe we're going to see things in the background or little teasers at the end that are a nod to the next show or the Henry Cavill project or something like that. That's a possibility. I personally am just excited to see some movement with the Warhammer IP and this whole Amazon Prime deal that they have, because there's been a lot of speculation that the Henry Cavill show is not as has not moved forward as much as everyone had hoped. So I don't even know if it's still on at this point. I think they're still waiting on some contract negotiations, but I'm just glad that they've settled on something. So maybe this is a taste of things to come. Maybe they'll do more animations. Maybe they'll do 10 of these episodes and see what catches on the most, and then they'll go make more. I don't know. Will, do you think this is just the start, or is this a sampling to see what takes off and what people really gravitate to?
I definitely think it is like a little sampler just to see. I think there was like a little 3 or 4 sentences at the bottom of the Warcom article saying like, "Hey, it's still in production. We'll have news eventually." So it's nice to have a little bit of confirmation with that. But I definitely think Amazon's testing the water, seeing like, "Hey, if this is popular, we'll go on do another season of it. If this is popular, do a season of that thing." So fingers crossed that this seems like a good opportunity to show my friends and try to get them into the hobby now. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, same. Lee, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm excited about it. I think what's interesting is I think the Love, Death and Robots, the company that are making this, they actually made a series for Netflix. So if anything, you've seen this company jump over to Prime. So that makes me wonder if they are, being used by Amazon Prime to create these, could these be the creators of some of the Warhammer content? Um,
Hmm.
but again, I'm looking forward to watching it. Even if it's 40 minutes, I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be full of, like what you said, Easter eggs and things that we can be like, oh, did you see that in the background? So I think it's going to be good. So looking forward to it. Is it December it comes out? Maybe.
Yeah, let's see here. December the 10th is gonna the secret level anthology. And
Mm,
so now we don't know if that's gonna be is it gonna be all the episodes all at once? Is it gonna be are they gonna release it over the span of multiple weeks? Maybe they
maybe.
release 2 episodes in the first week, 2 episodes the next week, and the Space Marine one doesn't come out until week 3. I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know how they're gonna release all this, but excited for the content nevertheless. And December the 10th, the secret level, which is a odd choice of title, I think, but whatever gets the IP out there. So definitely more to look forward to, and excited for others to see the Warhammer franchise and what it has to offer. And maybe this is just a sign of more things to come. I'm happy with animations. I'm happy with films. Whatever is going to be released, I'm looking forward to, and I'm all in. Well, all right. That will do it for this episode of the Dad Hammer podcast. Thanks to the Chaplain and Will the Overlord. Thank you for returning, sir. I am David the Warboss, and until next time, remember that all of your pile potential boxes can double as terrain. Take care, and we will see you next time.